I never thought betrayal would come from the two people I trusted the most. If someone had warned me earlier, I would have laughed it off. But now, looking back, the signs were always there. I just chose to ignore them. I'm Daniel, 32 years old, and until last year, I thought I had a perfect life. I had a stable job, a fiancé I loved deeply, and a best friend who had been part of my life for over a decade. We weren't just friends, we were family. I met my fiancée, Rachel, 5 years ago at a coworker's birthday party. She was calm, caring, and had this way of making people feel heard. Within a year we moved in together. 2 years later, I proposed. She said yes without hesitation, and I remember thinking I was the luckiest man alive. My best friend, Alex, had been there from the beginning. We met in college and stayed close even after graduation. He knew every detail about my life, my insecurities, my past relationships, my fears. When I proposed to Rachel, Alex was the first person I called. He screamed with excitement and hugged me so hard I could barely breathe. When wedding planning started, Alex became heavily involved. He offered to help with everything: venues, music, guest lists. At the time, I appreciated it. I thought it showed how supportive he was. Rachel also seemed happy that Alex was around so much. She said it made things easier. About 8 months before the wedding, small things started to feel off. Rachel became more private with her phone. She would turn the screen away when texting. If I walked into the room, she'd suddenly lock it. When I asked, she'd smile and say it was just work or group chats. Alex also started acting differently. He'd cancel plans last minute. Sometimes he wouldn't reply for hours, which was unusual for him. When we did hang out, he seemed distracted, like his mind was somewhere else. I told myself I was overthinking. I trusted both of them completely. Why wouldn't I? 3 months before the wedding, I noticed something that stuck with me. Rachel and Alex had inside jokes. Little comments that I didn't understand. They would laugh, then suddenly stop when I asked what was funny. Rachel would say, "Oh, nothing, you had to be there." I brushed it off again. The real turning point came one night when Rachel said she was going to visit her sister. She packed an overnight bag and left around 8 p.m. I stayed home, watching TV, half asleep. Around midnight, I realized she hadn't texted me once. No, I arrived safely. No updates. That wasn't like her. The next morning, she came home early and seemed tense. When I asked how her sister was, she paused for a split second before answering. That pause was small, but it felt heavy. A week later, Alex casually mentioned that he'd been busy all night that same evening. He said it without thinking, then quickly changed the subject. My stomach tightened, but I didn't say anything. From that point on, I started paying attention. I noticed that Rachel and Alex were online at the same time late at night. I noticed Alex knew details about our wedding plans that I hadn't told him yet. I noticed Rachel mentioning things Alex liked: food, music, movies, things she had never cared about before. I didn't want to become paranoid, but I also couldn't ignore the growing feeling that something was wrong. 2 weeks before the wedding, everything came crashing down. Rachel asked me to fix something on her laptop while she took a shower. As I opened the browser, a chat window popped up. It wasn't hidden. It was right there. Alex's name was at the top. My heart started racing. I stared at the screen for a few seconds, hoping my eyes were lying to me. Then I read the last message. "I still can't believe we did this behind his back." I felt dizzy. My hands shook as I scrolled up. Message after message confirmed my worst fear. They had been seeing each other for almost a year. Secret meetings, late-night calls, private jokes, plans about what happens after the wedding. They talked about me like I was a problem, not a person. I felt sick. When Rachel came out of the shower, I closed the laptop and sat there in silence. She smiled at me, completely unaware that my entire world had just collapsed. I didn't confront her right away. I needed time to think. I needed to understand how two people I loved could betray me so deeply. Over the next few days, I pretended everything was normal. I kissed her goodbye. I answered Alex's calls. Inside, I was breaking apart. I thought about canceling the wedding quietly. I thought about confronting them privately. But the more I thought about it, the angrier I became. They had lied to me for a year. They had laughed behind my back. They had planned a future while using me as a cover. I decided they didn't deserve silence. On the wedding day, everything looked perfect on the outside. The venue was beautiful. Guests arrived smiling. Music played softly in the background. Rachel looked stunning in her dress. Alex stood beside me as my best man, calm and confident. Neither of them knew what was coming. During the reception, it was time for speeches. Alex went first. He talked about friendship, loyalty, and honesty. Every word felt like a knife. People applauded. Rachel smiled at him. Then it was my turn. I stood up, holding my phone. My hands were steady, even though my heart was racing. I started by thanking everyone for coming. I thanked my parents. I thanked Rachel's family. Then I paused. I said, "Today was supposed to be about trust." The room went quiet. I continued, "But trust only works when people are honest." Rachel looked confused. Alex avoided eye contact. I unlocked my phone and read a few messages. I didn't read everything. I didn't need to. Just enough for people to understand. Gasps filled the room. Someone dropped a glass. Rachel started crying. Alex tried to interrupt me, but guests told him to sit down. I ended by saying, "I refuse to start a marriage built on lies." I walked out. The wedding ended that day. Guests slowly left. Families argued. Friendships broke. Rachel tried to contact me for weeks. Alex sent one message saying he was sorry things got out of hand. I blocked them both. It took months to heal. I questioned my judgment. I questioned my self-worth. But over time I realized something important. Betrayal doesn't say anything about the person who was betrayed. It reveals everything about the people who chose to betray. Now I'm rebuilding my life, one day at a time. Some people say I should have handled it privately. Others say I did the right thing. So I want to ask you, what would you have done if you were in my place?